So, as Josette mentioned, I'm a curator here in San Francisco, and much of my focus has been on art and technology and looking at media in various ways. But I was actually going to use this occasion to basically ask a question, and that question is, how can we foster more critical digital culture in the Bay Area? And obviously, the Gray Area has been doing a lot on that forefront, so it just seemed like a great opportunity to bring that question to the floor today. So I'm just going to jump into my talk. Oops, let me put this down a little bit. Woo, there we go. I'm a little short. This is a banner year for the arts community in the Bay Area. Right here and right here. The Gray Area Foundation for the Art is even more settled into its newish Grand Theater, which the organization moved into in 2014. And the gallery and studio space, Minnesota Street Projects, launched. We also saw BAM PFA open their new building, and soon, actually beginning next week, the SF MoMA will open once again. And with all this activity, we're also seeing in the visual arts sector a number of major art fairs and galleries arriving to the city. So Untitled Art Fair, which is a major commercial art fair in Miami, will be coming to San Francisco next January. We also, the Gagosian is opening, a major commercial gallery is opening up in downtown San Francisco. And then most recently, Anton Kern and Andrew Krebs have announced that they're gonna be opening us up a temporary gallery space in Minnesota Street Project. So the news, and this is great news for the Bay Area. It brings genuine excitement and optimism. And I think in a lot of the conversations I've been having with other arts professionals in the city, a feeling that San Francisco in some ways has finally arrived, which is also tempered by grumblings too, some more vocal than others. But I think both of these things are kind of happening right now. And I actually moved here to San Francisco from New York in 2012. I moved back. I actually grew up in the Bay Area and came back here. And in 2012, I remember the mood was much more depressed. It seemed like there are a number of spaces that were facing, financial difficulty, like the lab down the street. Intersection for the Arts was having a serious economic issue. And it felt like every other artist I knew was either going through a horrible eviction process or leaving the city entirely because they had been priced out. And unfortunately, I don't think that scenario is entirely changed, even with these new developments. But in 2012, it really felt like kind of a downer year for the Bay Area. And then the other thing too I noticed when I moved back is that there seemed like a lot of tension, and in some ways that this is still true, between the arts community and the tech sector here in San Francisco, and it would bubble up in various ways. So I thought I'd take this, just to give you a context of sort of where things are right now, I thought I'd take the speaking opportunity and the attention of this audience to step back and reflect on this moment, the current moment in San Francisco, while asking this very simple question, which is also, I think, a question a lot of people will be asking over the weekend too in various ways. And the question is, how can we foster a critical digital culture in the Bay Area? And I feel, even though there are all these really great developments happening, we can still push that side of the cultural spectrum further. And this seems like a fantastic place and time to ask this question, especially in this space, with this group and during this festival. So, many years ago, curator Rennie Pritikin, who is currently the chief curator at the Contemporary Jewish Museum in downtown San Francisco, wrote a prescription for a healthy art scene, which in many ways was aimed specifically at the Bay Area. I come across this document often as a curator. I see it pinned on artist studio corkboards. I see people posting it on Tumblr, posted on Facebook. It's sort of a local mantra, if you will, or mantra. Reading it again, his suggestions to me stand up. In order to sustain a healthy art scene, and I know this is extremely tiny text, so I'll just give you the shorthand. Pritikin sees a need for a large pool of artists, okay, check, affordable studio space, active art schools, adventurous collectors and art dealers, sophisticated art critics, numerous publications that are both art-specific and otherwise, artist funding, and locally engaged museums and curators. And as I mentioned before, right now it seems like the Bay Area is kind of ticking everything down this list, which is great. This is good news for us. However, and this is an ongoing question, given the Bay Area's unique placement as the center for the tech industry, and moreover, as a generator of technological design. And given the fact that this particular sector has an enormous cultural hold, could or should we do more to bring these two disciplines together, and what form should that take? So, in this brief talk, I would like to present two artworks as examples that have sparked my thinking on this matter. And while they don't precisely present a clean answer to this question, as if easy answers ever exist, I believe they serve as a way of bridging art and technology that pushes both fields further. In essence, I'd like to see artworks that engage with the thorny condition of the present by being objects that act and do, rather than solely represent. And just as a quick sidebar, art historian David Joslett's been sort of talking about this concept as well, and he was definitely a major inspiration for some of these ideas, sort of thinking about the shift from artworks that represent to artworks that are sort of active in the world. And he's written a lot about how in our sort of contemporary media environment, images circulate. And so he wrote this book called After Art that is a really fantastic text that you should look out. And in the past year, he's sort of extended these questions about the power and currency that images have to thinking about the power that art objects have to act in the world. So that's just a quick sidebar in the sidebar. So when you layer in technology, this question about what art objects do takes on additional weight. In some, I'm seeking active art objects immersed in our present political and social condition, which perhaps can push our technology to be more responsible. And I believe there's an opportunity to see that more in San Francisco. So the first work I'm going to be pointing to is a piece entitled Autonomy Cube by Trevor Paglen, created in collaboration with Jacob Applebaum in 2014. And some of you might have seen this at Altman Siegel Gallery had this up about, I think maybe earlier this year, maybe early last year. So perhaps you've encountered it before. So designed for installation in art museums, galleries, and other civic spaces, the Autonomy Cube creates an open Wi-Fi hotspot over the Tor network and acts itself as a Tor relay. Paglen describes the work as a, quote, way of enhancing museums. As we know, institutions are blindly accepting surveillance systems as a way to track audiences. For example, the Dallas Museum of Art had this Friends membership program that rewarded visitors with free parking, museum store discounts, et cetera, for tracking their participation at the museum through their custom mobile and web platform. And this program was, praised in the museum community for using technology to gather data about visitor behavior and demographics, which is something any institution really needs for various reasons. But at the same time, it's creepily employing that technology the way that big business like, Target or Facebook would use it without really being critical of the kind of surveillance it's putting into play for its audience. So Paglen states that the Autonomy Cube puts forth an opposition to this trend. It inserts a conversation regarding surveillance in the age of these invasive systems, and it establishes an alternative through the privacy-oriented, volunteer-run infrastructure of Tor. The artist thinks civic institutions, like museums, need to do more and be on the front of critical conversations regarding big data and surveillance, not just blindly adopting these tools. And I would agree with that as well. The second work I'd like to point to is a project I actually helped present at Yerba Buena Center for the Arts in that same room that Josette was describing earlier. And the project is called the Sprawl. And it's by a group called MetaHaven. And actually, this work was greatly inspired by a lot of Benjamin Bratton's writings, too, who will be speaking in just a little bit. So I also wanted to kind of bring that into my talk, too, for that reason. So I'm going to show the trailer for this piece really quickly and then talk a little bit about it. But I want to show you the trailer first so you have a little sense of what it is.
Мы заблудились в средневековом информационном тумане. Мы знали, что запросто сами могли распространять недостоверную информацию, но ничего не могли с собой поделать. Спорить – все равно, что смотреть в зеркало. Выхода нет. Каждое новое обвинение – зеркальное отражение предыдущего. В перевернутой реальности спор невозможен, ведь ответом всегда будет «посмотрите на себя». Взгляните на собственный беспорядок. Кто вы такие, чтобы мне указывать, в конце концов?
It's all about destroying belief in anything. When you have no belief in truth, then you can't believe in anything.
Истины как навязанного мне предмета, как реальности, падающей на меня сверху, во имя которой требуют от меня отречения от свободы, не существует. Истина есть также путь и жизнь. Истина есть духовное завоевание. Истина познается в свободе и через свободу.
So this is the installation footage or installation shot of that same piece. The Sprawl builds on the Amsterdam-based studio Metahaven's ongoing research addressing the negotiation and pitfalls of modern democracy given the rise of mass surveillance, big data, and cloud-based computing. The Sprawl explores the mutation of propaganda in the age of social media, with a particular focus on how the diffuse network circulation of messages through these channels affects how we read, interpret, and understand events. Presented both online as a series of short films distributed across various platforms, so you saw that link at the end, sprawl.space. And in the gallery is a multi-channel video installation, which you see an image of here. And they're also showing this at various film festivals all over the world. The Sprawl exists in a dispersed format in order to occupy the same space as its subjects, in essence becoming, as Metahaven describe it, propaganda about propaganda. Inhabiting multiple space, online and offline, in the cinema, the gallery, the mobile phone. The work enters the flow, as theorist Boris Groys might put it. Like the studio's other work, and they've done a lot of projects in the realm of graphic design, installation. They have a very diverse practice. The Sprawl adopts, like the studio's other work, it adapts graphic design, identity branding, and product development, and now moving image as a means to negotiate the imagery and aesthetics surrounding commercial and political power structures, and that's pretty key. What I find fascinating and exciting about Metahaven's practice is that it occupies this negotiation, and here the key term is occupy. So these are two examples, and this is a brief talk, and there are so many other examples I could point to, but I am spotlighting them here in order to describe what I'd like to see more of coming out of San Francisco. So what's next? If we can agree, and I think we can agree, that there's a renewed vibrancy within the Bay Area's arts community with all of these different spaces and all of these different things happening, that it's healthy or at least healthier. Could this vibrancy in any way be directed towards an enriched and generative critical digital culture in the Bay Area, one that crosses sectors, builds bridges, and imagines alternatives to a solely profit-driven, neoliberal, and capitalist technological production? In turn, could that help yield more ethical, socially responsible technology? Maybe a better world? It's a possibility worth entertaining, and I wanted to sort of put that question out here today. So thank you, and that's my talk. Thank you.